All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And if you are ready to already judge by the title of this video, I just want to say congratulations, because you're only looking at the surface. You're not looking underneath. You're not thinking about it, right? And obviously, chances are, if you are judging, you're probably new around here, because if you are not so new, and if you've been here for at least, I'd say, a week to a month, you will already know where my mindset is at. But the big topic of discussion in this week, ever since Call of Duty over the last, couple of days or so, has released its new, what is it called? A white paper describing its skill-based matchmaking / engagement optimized matchmaking. Every single content creator under the sun has been pretty much making videos talking about it, how much it sucks, how much it's BS, blah, blah, blah. And I'm with that group. I totally am with that group. But it's finally getting to the point to where in certain specific, in one specific video that I saw, and I'll talk about that in a minute, one specific video that I saw is what kind of inspired me to kind of chime in and make my own video about this, because I was just going to sit back, relax, and just watch, shake my head, kind of laugh and, nod my head as well, and just be like, yep, nothing new here. The cycle continues. We're talking and complaining about this stuff again. And oh, by the way, the gameplay that you're seeing here in the background is kind of, in a way, related to the subject, because you will see that no matter how many bullets a lot of these snipers take, they continue to freaking kill my ass, which just goes to show two things. Number one, it shows that the snipers still need to get nerfed, because whatever flinch addition they've added doesn't do anything, as you'll see, as they sponge up bullets and yet still kill me. And number two, it also shows that I didn't give up despite the fact I was getting annoyingly killed by these snipers. And that's what I'm getting at here. See, Nero Cinema, in his latest video towards the end, I might play the clip, okay? And if I do decide to put the clip in, I will be back shortly. But if not, I'm just going to tell you straight up what he said, okay? And that is that he basically is starting to realize, and I'm paraphrasing here, okay? I'm obviously not going to say tit for tat what he said, but basically the one part that kind of inspired me to make this video is that he literally said the words, and I'm saying this in a paraphrasing fashion, that there's nothing I can do. It's like he's been so dedicated, just like a lot of us here have been. I used to be so dedicated to, well, I used to be, right? I was a former Call of Duty content creator / commentator. Now I'm just a commentator and ex-Defiant supporter. Now, the reason why this particular phrase that he said in terms of there's nothing that he can do or whatnot inspired me to make this video, the reason is because now it's finally starting to sink in, okay? See, I'm going to explain to you guys as to why there is nothing we can do, and okay? And I hate to sound like I'm a pessimistic person, because I'm just being realistic here. Here is the reality of today's situation, right? So let's, a lot of you guys are around my age, I'm going to be 40 in a couple months. So let's rewind the clock back anywhere from 10 to 15 years from now. Okay, anybody in my demographic that watches me is going to be within 10 years of my age or whatnot. So let's rewind the clock back, let's say 10 to 15 years from now, right? Okay. Now, during those times, okay, society as a whole, right, we basically had to earn everything that we've got. Right? Okay. Now, with that being said, fast forward to where we are now in 2024. It's not all about earning, is it anymore? You can, obviously you can still, earn everything you got, of course. That still does apply in a lot of cases. But have you guys realized that not just in video games, but in society as a whole, everything that you can get away with nowadays, wasn't even a thing back in the day? Like right now, you don't have to work nearly as hard in order to achieve something that you had to fight tooth and nail for to literally achieve back in the day. Standards have been lowered, that is for sure. And there's really not much you can do about it. And it's gotten to the point to where that has become normality and it's become accepted in culture. Like the Navy SEALs, for instance, have this very famous phrase, and that is, and I'm paraphrasing here, we live in a society to where mediocrity is rewarded. Well, this is no longer just mediocrity. This is way below mediocrity. And this is exactly what these engagement optimized matchmaking and skill-based matchmaking and pubs developers have in mind, is that they want to appeal to the mass people. And not only that, Not only do they want to do that, but they want to cater to them because they don't want them to get to the point to where they can see a difference and to see how scummy it really is and what a difference it can actually make. You know what I mean? Just like in real life, they don't want you to do anything with what's going on, right? It's basically like, this is the way it is and blah, 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 right? Mediocrity is rewarded. Lower levels than mediocrity is even more rewarded. And guess who actually pays the most for this shit? The people that have basically come from a previous generation that simply used to work hard for literally everything that they've earned. And right now, it's given so much easier than it's ever been before. And that is exactly what Call of Duty is. See, Call of Duty is no longer, ever since Modern Warfare 2019, Call of Duty has no longer been developed for the kind of people with that kind of mentality, the quote unquote old school mentality, even though that old school mentality was like a decade or even less ago, right? And we call it old school mentality, go figure. Call of Duty is no longer made for that kind of mentality anymore, because that's the kind of mentality that will stand up for itself. That's the kind of mentality that's going to look beyond the surface and it's going to see for what's really going on underneath and say something about it. And do they want that? No, because ultimately that can potentially affect their pocket. So what do? They're going to cater to people that are most likely going to, even though they don't have the money to spend, they somehow find it anyway, right? And put themselves in more credit card debt or whatever else they do to get into the shop and to buy whatever it is in the shop that literally has no value whatsoever. And that on top of that will not be carried onto the next version whatsoever. It's simple as that. It's catered to those kind of people. And unfortunately, those are the majority of the kinds of people that are playing the game. Let's put it this way, that are playing the game as well as buying the stuff in the shop. You know what I mean? And not only, check this out. Here's an interesting thing. And I just thought about this and I'm going to mention it here. Like, you guys know how they pretty much cut and paste a lot of the football games or whatnot, the video game football games. I remember Angry Joe and some other guys have been doing some reviews on this to where they literally cut and paste stuff. And, you know, it's like they release it for $60 year after year. And the graphics in some cases suck. And it's like literally the same game as the year before, if not in some cases worse, but yet they charge more. Like, and yet I have a friend who I work alongside, right? And he's getting a PS5 that he got for a steal price, but he's very interested in playing the next football game because he's all about football games and stuff like that. That's just what he likes to play or whatnot. And I wanted to say something to inform him, but I knew it wasn't going to make a difference whatsoever. I just knew it wasn't, because they're going to buy it regardless of the quality it is. And at the same time, they're just not aware. It's not that they're stupid. It's just that they're not aware like you and I are, right? So not only do you have to have critical thinking skills in order to see what's going on behind the surface of this whole engagement optimized matchmaking, engagement and skill-based matchmaking, but you also have to be a gamer that devotes themselves to a certain degree, right? So you can still have smart people that are casuals and they won't see through this thing. But at the same time, you'll also have people that are also very entitled and super casuals, or entitled and not so casuals that are still going to fall for it. You know what I mean? And these are, unfortunately, you put all this together, these are the majority of people. And again, I've said this time and time again over the years when I was covering COD. We are in the minority, unfortunately. The people that got them to where they are to where they got to be in the first place, to have the financial success that they've had before supply drops became a thing, before loot boxes and battle passes became a thing. You know, the people that bought Call of Duty Black Ops 1, the 30 million people that bought Call of Duty Black Ops 1, we are the ones responsible, right? And guess what? Even back in the day, the majority of those people were the casual people. However, the mindset was different, right? They would still play the living crap out of Call of Duty. I know this because I sucked at COD when Black Ops 1 was a thing, and it was the first COD that I played for as long as I did. A friend of mine that I was also teaching long martial arts with, he was actually the son of the father who owned the school. We played a lot of Call of Duty Black Ops 1, and back then he actually liked Call of Duty more than I did. I was still very deep into Halo at the time. And I also played a vast majority of games as well, but I preferred Halo to COD. But then obviously over within the next year or two, that ended up changing. But regardless of which, you get the point, right? He was a very casual player and I was a very casual player, but I was still better because I just played video games a lot more than he did. But he still enjoyed it and he still wanted to play it for hours and hours and hours, regardless of how well he did. Like, seriously, like I remember one time he told me that all he did throughout the weekend was he sat in his lazy boy that happened to be in his room and played Call of Duty Black Ops 1. And he had just gotten back then, this was in 2011, I believe, either 2010 or 2011. He had just gotten another copy of Black Ops 1. He had gotten a new version of the Xbox 360, the one that wouldn't get the red rings of death or whatnot. I think it was a Slim. And and he did nothing but play Call of Duty Black Ops 1 for that entire weekend, which is something that I couldn't even do. Like I couldn't sit there for 15 hours straight or more to do that, but he did. And because he loved it. And he's a super casual, and he wasn't nearly as good as I was. And despite the fact that I sucked. Okay. And I know this because I played with him and I knew it. And I remember he even played on Wi-Fi. He wasn't even playing on a wired internet connection. He was playing on Wi-Fi. Remember, back in the day, we didn't know any better. But anyway, you guys get the point, right? So it's all about numbers. It's all about numbers, and it's all about the lack of critical thinking skills, which is becoming less and less of a thing. I mean, it just goes, even with the education system, those that came before me were educated better than me. And my generation, unfortunately, as far as public schools is concerned, is educated better than those that came after me or whatnot, or within 5 to 10 years after me or whatnot. And the cycle continues. And it's absolutely terrible. It sucks. You know, as a matter of fact, I'll give a, what's it called? I will give a, I'll tip my hat to everybody that's overseas. And if anybody's watching this overseas, I tip my hat to you guys that are on the other side of the pond in Europe or wherever else that you're from, because quite frankly, to my knowledge, especially since I'd spent some time before I ended up being, actually just when I turned 13, I had spent some time in Europe. And quite frankly, one of the things that I noticed right away was that their public education system, in terms of the material they teach, were like much more advanced than what we got for the grade that I got. Like I remember I was doing something. I was what was I? I was an 8th grader or something like that, or a 7th grader. No, I was an 8th grader. And you know, my cousin came to see what I was doing in terms of what the work was. And he's looking at me and he's like, "You're learning this now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "I learned this back in the middle of elementary school." And I was like, "Holy shit." So anyway, it just kind of goes to show you, man. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd kind of chime in and talk about it, but yet in a different way. But look, of course, there's nothing we can do. The cycle is going to continue going, and skill-based matchmaking, engagement-optimized matchmaking, as far as Call of Duty is concerned, is not going to go anywhere. And one of the reasons it's not going to go anywhere is because we are going to continue to be outnumbered, especially if everything, not just in society, but in video games and everything like that, if it continues going in the way that it's going in terms of the methodology and the mindset, which is the kind of mindset that they want you to have nowadays, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. I mean, look at the design of Black Ops 6, for instance. They're making it to where you don't have to press any buttons to even sprint. Or should I say, let's put it this way, or to mantle, or to slide, or to do the combination of the two. They're vastly reducing it to where it's being done for you, essentially. Kind of like the increase of aim assist, to where the strength of aim assist has been upped over the last handful of years. So that way the game does most of the work for you. So that way it's, you know, easier for you to get a kill and therefore feel better about yourself, as opposed to you doing most of the work. You know, which is something that I strongly stand against. And I'm a controller player. So it's all about the mindset. It's all about the principle. And I do not want to see my fellow community members, you know, regardless of what game it is, I don't want them to be subjected to this, because it's only going to make them weaker. And it's something that I strongly stand against. But as long as it continues to be supported from a numbers perspective, it's going to continue to go in the direction that it's going. So here's what I have to say as I close here. To first of all, shout out to every single, you know, Call of Duty /XDefiant content creator that has been making videos about this. I know that videos are going to continue to be made about this, because I know that there's a few content creators that have not talked about the subject yet, but it is coming. Like Prime Pete, for example. I can't wait till he makes a video about it. But first of all, shout out to them. But another thing is, if you are just a Call of Duty content creator, it's like how much more can you take before you finally like break and you get to the point to where you start losing a piece of yourself, simply because of the fact that you are quote unquote dedicated to the franchise. The franchise is no longer for you. It is for different people now. And I mean that respectively. I'm not trying to shit on anybody's lawn or anything like that. I'm just saying it is no longer dedicated to you. So therefore you should no longer dedicate to it. But of course, you've spent so much time building a YouTube channel around it and all that kind of stuff, and I totally get it. And that's where the pickle comes in, right? This is where the interesting part comes in. It's like, it's very hard to walk away, especially if you're known for creating certain types of content, and especially if it pays some of your bills. There are, you know, people out there, content creators that have 600,000 or if not more, you know, subs, like Nero Cinema or whatnot. And let's say, for example, you know, and that in and of itself alone is not enough for them to pay their bills. But in an economy like this, it does make a difference, and it's really hard to put down, you know, especially when you consider, you know, some of the jobs out there that are absolutely miserable. I mean, there's people out there that make six figures and are still miserable at what they do. I mean, granted, that's not always the case for everybody, but there's a lot of people out there that are very miserable, that don't like what they do, but they stick with it because it pays the bills. And it's literally no different with YouTube and Call of Duty. And that's where the pickle comes in. And that's why I can't point the finger and judge, because people need to make money, especially now more than ever with an economy like this that is not just in the United States, but is seemingly all around the world. But anyway, guys, I just kind of wanted to want to speak my thoughts. And after watching Nero's video, I was like, yep, I'm going to talk about it, because I've been thinking about it for days, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, you know. And then Nero's video and what he had said in that specific towards the end of the video, like the last minute or so, really really kind of just had me wanting to basically get on here and start just speaking my mind. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I had to say. You guys can let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are on the matter and all that kind of stuff. I really don't need to go into details in terms of what the paper itself said or whatnot, or put a link in the description. I won't even have to do that, because you guys already know, you guys are already aware. It's the same old song and dance time and time again. And at the same time, I refuse to put a link in the description because, quite frankly, I don't really want to, you know, point a finger at anything related to Call of Duty. And I really don't even care that Modern Warfare 3, 2024 version or whatnot, or 2023 version, right? I don't care that it's been released on Game Pass. I do not care that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is going to be released on Game Pass, which is kind of painful to say because I was always a Treyarch fanboy, but this is not the same Treyarch, especially if they start doing different things. You know, since when did Treyarch put doors in their maps? Need I say more? Since, I mean, it hasn't been since Black Ops 1, since where our kill streaks or score streaks couldn't loop. You know what I mean? The signs are all there, guys. That's all I got to say. But again, you know, we can't stop the storm. All you can do is be smart and just, you know, get out of its path if you are strong enough to do so. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. And as always, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Hope you enjoyed it for what it was. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.